Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.
Question 1. A salesperson receives an offer from a buyer who has no cash but offers a deposit of $500 in the form of personal note payable in 30 days. A. This is unacceptable since a deposit must be in cash or a check. B. The form of deposit is immaterial as long as the $500 figure appears on the deposit receipt. C. A salesperson may accept a personal note as deposit if he advises the seller of this prior to acceptance. D. A salesperson may accept a note if made in favor of the broker to handle expenses. Answer. C. It is perfectly all right for the salesperson to accept a personal note as a deposit, but this must be disclosed to the seller before the acceptance of the offer. Question 2. Collecting rents, fixing up the property and showing vacant units are the types of responsibilities that would be assumed by A. A broker. B. A resident property manager. C. A salesman. D. An attorney at law. Answer. B. These are the types of things that a resident property manager does. Question 3. A person who has been given the right to act on behalf of another is known as A. Affiant. B. Attorney in fact. C. Executor. D. Principal. Answer. B. The power of attorney is the piece of paper and the one with the right to act is the attorney in fact. Question 4. A prudent lender would take into consideration which of the following before issuing a loan? A. Borrower's ability to pay. B. The market value of the property that is the security for the loan. C. Current economic trends. D. All of the above. Answer. D. The lender would consider all aspects of the loan as mentioned in choices 1, 2 and 3. Question 5. Which of the following represents a gross misrepresentation by an agent? A. His representation is an obvious falsehood. B. His representation is made with a knowledge of the falsehood. C. His representation caused the aggrieved party to enter into the contract. D. All of the above. Answer. D. All of these are examples of gross misrepresentation by an agent. Question 6. The relationship between effective and nominal interest is that A. Effective interest is what the buyer pays, nominal interest is what is named in the loan application. B. Effective interest is what the buyer pays, nominal interest is what is named in the advertising. C. Effective interest is what the buyer pays, nominal interest is what is specified in the note. D. There is no difference. Answer. C. Effective rate is the actual interest rate paid by the borrower. Nominal rate is the interest rate specified in the note. Question 7. In assessing the profitability of a real estate office, the broker must consider desk cost. Which best describes how to calculate desk cost? A. Calculate the cost of all the desks. B. Calculate the gross profit for the office, less the expenses, divide by the number of desks. C. Divide the total cost of rent, utilities and advertising by the number of desks. D. Divide the total operating expenses of the office, including salaries, rent, insurance, etc., by the number of desks. Answer. D. Desk cost is the total cost of operating expenses of an office divided by the number of desks in the real estate office. Question 8. Under some loans covered under the Federal Truth in Lending Law, the borrower has a right to rescind the loan. The right to rescind is A. 3 days. B. 5 days. C. 10 days. D. 14 days. Answer. A. On loans where the personal residence is used as security, other than the first trust deed used to purchase the property, the borrower has 3 days to rescind. Question 9. A property is not listed for sale. A person who wants the property executes an offer to purchase it through a real estate agent and gives the broker a $5,000 check as a deposit. The broker A. Can accept the check on behalf of the property owner provided he presents the offer directly to the seller as the seller's agent. B. Cannot accept the check. C. Can accept the check as the exclusive agent of the buyer. D. None of the above. Answer. C. You can accept the check as exclusive agent for the buyer, but you have no listing with the seller. Question 10. The economic life of an improvement as compared to the physical life is usually A. Longer. B. Shorter. C. The same. D. Depends on the type of improvement. Answer. D. Most houses are torn down before they fall down. When a house cannot be used for rental income or residential purposes, it no longer has any economic worth and is generally torn down.
Passing the real estate exam can be hard, like really hard. Statistically, only about 50% of people actually pass the real estate exam on their first try. Those people that pass, they go on to become real estate agents. And the people that didn't pass, they either give up completely or have to try again. Both of these options are painful, disappointing, and upsetting. Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition has been named as the best real estate exam prep by multiple publications for 7 years in a row. If you are about to take the real estate exam, Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition is a no-brainer choice. There is no other real estate exam preparation service out there that comes close. To enjoy the longest membership time, lowest cost, real estate videos, audios, articles, flashcards, vocabulary, exam tips and tricks, a 1-year no questions asked refund policy, and be one of the 35,000 people that it has helped pass the real estate exam, then sign up in less than 5 minutes at www.realestateexamscholar.com.
Question 1. If an asset is showing a decline in monetary value or a decline in the value of property, this is best known as A. Depreciation. B. Expense. C. Declining value. D. Comparable dispersion. Answer. A. Depreciation is a decline in the value of property and, in accounting, is the declining value of an asset. Question 2. In the most basic sense, debt is considered A. Any amount owed to another. B. A credit from one person to another. C. An owed amount with interest. D. Anything of value that is borrowed from another. Answer. A. An amount that is owed to another is probably the simplest form of the definition of debt. Question 3. A loan in which the lender makes payments to the builder at periodic intervals as the work progresses is best called A. A short-term interim loan. B. A construction term loan. C. A convertible construction loan. D. A periodic convertible loan. Answer. A. A short-term interim loan is a loan in which a lender makes payments to the builder at periodic intervals as the work progresses. This type of loan is also known as a construction loan, but not called a construction term loan. Question 4. Homeowners association fees are also sometimes called A. Common area assessments. B. Condominium fees. C. Common designated conveyances. D. Area commune fees. Answer. A. Homeowners association fees are also sometimes called common area assessments. They are paid by the individual owners and are used to maintain the property or common areas. Question 5. A time deposit that is held in a bank that pays a certain predetermined amount of interest to the depositor is known as A. A certified deposit. B. A certificate of deposit. C. An interest-bearing account. D. A time-stamped deposit. Answer: B. A time deposit that is held in a bank that pays a certain predetermined amount of interest to the original depositor is called a certificate of deposit. Question 6. If a homeowner refinances the mortgage on the property at a higher amount than the current loan balance for personal use, this is called A. Cash out refinance. B. Reverse mortgage. C. Equity line of cash. D. None of these. Answer: A. A cash out refinance is when a homeowner refinances the mortgage on the property at a higher amount than the current loan. This happens when the current borrower intends to use the money for personal use. Question 7. The final lump sum payment due at the termination of a specific type of mortgage is best called A. A hovering payment. B. A balloon payment. C. A floating payment. D. A deferred payment. Answer: B. A balloon payment is a lump sum payment that is due at the termination of a balloon mortgage. Question 8. The best definition of an appraiser is A. An individual qualified by education and experience to estimate the value of real and personal property. B. An individual that works for lenders exclusively to estimate the value of real and personal property. C. An individual that works exclusively independently as a contracted agent to estimate the value of real and personal property. D. None of these. Answer: A. An appraiser can work for lenders or they can work as independent entities. They are always qualified by education and experience to determine the value of real and personal property. Question 9. A value created according to a government formula intended to reflect the true annual cost of borrowing expressed as a percentage is called A. PR. B. ARP. C. CPR. D. ADR. Answer: A. Annual percentage rate, otherwise known as APR, is a value created according to a government formula intended to reflect the true annual cost of borrowing expressed as a percentage. Question 10. Liabilities, including long-term and short-term debt and any amounts owed to others, is best known as a person's A. Financial obligations. B. Net worth minus expenses. C. Debt. D. Assets. Answer: A. A person's liabilities that include long-term and short-term debt as well as amounts owed to others is best called their financial obligations. Question 1. If brokers of different offices agree to set commission rates at a particular level, this would be a violation of A. The J. Edgar Hoover Antitrust Act. B. The Sherman Antitrust Act. C. The Anti-Monopoly Act of 1932. D. The Sherman Antitrust Act. Answer: B. Brokers of differing offices have faced severe punishment by conspiring to set rates because this is a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Question 2. A lease that allows a landlord to collect money based on the amount of sales the tenant's store produces is A. Illegal. B. Called a percentage lease. C. Called a net lease. D. Called a pocket lease. Answer: B. A percentage lease is a lease in which there is a base rent as well as a percentage of the gross sales is due to the landlord after a certain threshold is met. Question 3. The type of listing that is the most risky and open to fraudulent activity is called A. Pocket. B. Et. C. Exclusive. D. Gross. Answer B. Net listings are when the agent keeps the sales price above a certain amount and can subject the broker and agent to have their licenses suspended or revoked. Question 4. When a building and a land are appraised separately, this is which type of approach to appraisal? A. Market. B. Index. C. Data. D. Cost. Answer D. In the cost approach to appraisal, it is required that the building and land be valued separately. Question 5. What does mortgage insurance cover? A. The amount of the loan in the event of the borrower's death. B. The lender in the event of a loss. C. Job loss or accidents that render a person unable to make mortgage payments. D. Incapacitation of the borrower. Answer B. Mortgage insurance covers a lender from losses. Question 6. What does mortgage life insurance cover? A. Pays off the loan amount in the event of the borrower's death. B. The lender in the event of a loss. C. Job loss of the borrower. D. Incapacitation of the borrower. Answer A. Mortgage life insurance covers the amount of the loan in the event of the borrower's death. Question 7. If Sam wishes to secure a real estate loan with the inventory of his furniture store, under the Uniform Commercial Code this would be A. Legal. B. Legal as long as the inventory equals the loan amount. C. Illegal because the inventory is considered a fixture. D. Illegal because the inventory can be sold and cannot secure a loan. Answer D. Because the inventory will eventually be sold off, this is not sufficient to secure a loan under the Uniform Commercial Code. Question 8. A contract that is binding between the buyer and the seller, as well as conditional delivery of transfer instruments to a third party is required for A. A transfer of title. B. A valid escrow. C. A person to buy a house. D. None of these. Answer E. In order to have a valid escrow, there must be a conditional delivery of transfer instruments to a third party as well as a binding contract between buyer and seller. Question 9. In the case of a cash sale, why would a seller wish to transfer an existing fire insurance policy? A. Because then they don't have to worry about a new policy. B. Because it is more convenient this way. C. Because they will not have to pay a short-term cancellation rate. D. Because there is no need in a cash sale transaction. Answer C. Sellers are typically more likely to want to transfer an existing fire insurance policy because they will not have to pay a short-term cancellation rate. Question 10. If a Chinese person calls an agent and asks to view property in a particular area of town that is known to house many people of Chinese descent, this would be A. An example of steering. B. An example of blockbusting. C. Perfectly legal. D. Illegal. Answer C. In any case in which a person wishes to view a property, regardless of race, this is viewed as a perfectly legitimate opportunity and should be treated as a normal client. Question 1. How many sections are in a township? A. 640. B. 280. C. 36. D. 20. Answer C. There are 36 sections in a township. There are 640 acres in each section. Question 2. How many square feet are in an acre? A. 43,560. B. 23,040. C. 12,820. D. 64,640. Answer. A. There are 43,560 square feet in an acre. Question 3. When debts of a person are erased in bankruptcy, what is this called? A. Relinquish. B. Discharge. C. Closure. D. Erasure. Answer. B. The act of closing a bankruptcy case and releasing the principal from the debt is called discharge. Question 4. Financing costs usually rise on loans with A. Easy terms. B. Low down payment. C. Both of these. D. None of these. Answer. C. A loan with easy terms and low down payment must be secured, and this usually will raise financing costs. Question 5. If a neighborhood is only partially built and remains this way over a period of time, this could lead to A. Blighting. B. Negligence. C. Breach of contract. D. None of these. Answer. A. A blighted area means an area that, in its present condition and use, substantially impairs or arrests the sound growth of the municipality, retards the provision of housing accommodations, or constitutes an economic or social liability, and is a menace to the public health, safety, morals, or welfare. Question 6. The broker loan law states that the broker's loan statement must contain estimated costs including A. Escrow. B. Appraisal. C. Title. D. All of these. Answer. D. The broker's loan statement must include, among other things, estimated costs including escrow, title, appraisal, notary, recording, and credit investigations. Question 7. The possessor of land in which an easement crosses cannot A. Terminate the easement at will. B. Use the easement. C. Remain as dominant. D. None of these. Answer. A. An easement cannot be terminated at the will of the dominant property owner. Something of this nature must be determined by the courts. Question 8. A licensed real estate broker that specializes in property management usually acquires commission based on A. A percentage of the gross rents collected. B. The life of the leases. C. The value life of the property. D. A percentage of yearly estimated leases. Answer. A. A licensed real estate broker specializing in property management usually earns commission based on a percentage of the gross rents collected. Question 9. An interest in real property can be obtained by A. Court order. B. Prescription. C. Verbal agreement. D. Notarized documents. Answer. B. Typically, an easement is an interest in real property and it is acquired by prescription. Question 10. A deposit that is given to a broker from an interested buyer that has had all deposit receipt conditions fulfilled should be given to whom if the buyer decides to back out? A. The buyer. B. The seller. C. A neutral third party. D. None of these. Answer. B. If all the deposit receipt conditions have been fulfilled, the deposit belongs to the seller.
Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.
Question 1. Which of the following real estate syndicates requires 100 or more investors? A. Limited partnership. B. Joint venture. C. Corporation. D. Real estate investment trust. Answer. D. A real estate investment trust, which is organized under federal laws, must have 100 or more investors. Question 2. A purchaser of real property utilizing leverage is A. Using the maximum amount of his own money to purchase property. B. Using the maximum amount of borrowed money to purchase property. C. Making the maximum down payment for the property. D. None of the above. Answer. B. Leverage is the use of credit, borrowed money, to purchase a property. When a property is 80% leveraged, it means a debt on the property is 80% of its value. The owner's equity is 20%. Question 3. A licensed contractor purchased 8 lots in a new subdivision and constructed 8 homes on the lots. He sold the 8 homes to various buyers and took back a $5,000 second trust deed on each of them. He would now like to sell the trust deeds within the year of their creation at a 20% discount. In order for him to do this, he A. Needs a real estate license. B. Must sell them through a real property securities dealer. C. Does not need a permit. D. Must deliver a real property security statement. Answer. A. These second trust deeds are classified as promotional notes and are real property securities. The contractor must obtain a permit to sell them, and since he is handling 8 in one calendar year, he is considered to be in the business and must have a license to sell them through a licensee. A dealer's endorsement is not required. Question 4. Which of the following statements is correct concerning a land contract? A. It is used when the seller wishes to convey title without a trustee relationship. B. It is similar to a lease in that the buyer has a right of possession but no rights in the title. C. The buyer has absolute assurance of receiving title upon performance of the contract. D. It is the least secure method of financing real property for the buyer because the seller has retained the title and the buyer is merely the equitable owner. Answer. D. A land contract is a security device used in financing real property, but it is the least secure method for the buyer, since the seller does retain the title. The buyer is the equitable owner, which means that he can use the property. While the seller retains the title, the buyer has rights in that title, and he often records the land contract to give public notice of those rights. Question 5. The liquidity of a borrower is generally determined by a loan officer in considering A. Debt to equity. B. Income total assets. C. Current assets to current liabilities. D. Fixed assets to current assets. Answer. C. A loan officer, in determining the liquidity of a borrower, is attempting to determine his ability to pay off current bills. Current assets to current liabilities would be the test he would use. Question 6. The owner of a property who signed a listing with a broker for 30 days was killed in an accident before the listing expired. The listing is A. No good as an authorization but binding if a buyer is secured later. B. Still in effect as the owner's interest was clear. C. Binding upon owner's heirs to carry out his promises. D. Terminated by the death of the owner. Answer. D. All personal service contract, such as listings, are terminated immediately upon death of either party. Question 7. Which of the following would usually be considered real property? A. Timber. B. Airspace above the land. C. Unharvested crops already contracted for. D. Land-filled dirt being moved. Answer B. Of the choices given, airspace above the land is considered real property. Question 8. Conventional loans are distinguished from FHA-insured loans by all of the following except A. Conventional loans provide for a lower loan-to-value ratio. B. FHA loans generally provide for a longer repayment period. C. Conventional loans always permit a deficiency judgment, while FHA loans never allow them. D. Interest rates on FHA loans are generally lower than those on conventional loans. Answer C. Deficiency judgments are not allowed on purchase. Question 9. Brother and sister purchase property as joint tenants. Later, the sister marries and deeded her interest to herself and her husband. A. The joint tenancy continues to exist in all three persons. B. The brother remains as a joint tenant. C. The joint tenancy is terminated. D. The sister's deed to her husband is voidable by the brother. Answer C. Joint tenancy require the four equal unities of time, title, interest and possession between two or more parties. Once any of the four unities is broken, it can no longer be a joint tenancy. Question 10. Theft as it relates to real property includes all of the following except A. Entering and removing part of the realty. B. Defrauding by misrepresentation. C. Signing another's name without authorization. D. Carrying away any portion of the security of a mortgage with the intent to defraud the mortgage. Answer C. Signing another person's name as forgery. It may lead to theft in our way of thinking, but is not defined as such in the Penal Code.
Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.